Hey guys, welcome to the Smart Flip, the podcast for phone flippers who are looking to turn their side hustles into serious profits. I am your host, Chris Schroeder. I've been flipping phones for about 8 to 9 years now. And today I got my co host, Matt, who is the console king. On this podcast, guys, we share tips, tricks, and strategies to help you dominate the game when it comes to phone flipping. But before we get started today, I do have to point out that we have a brand new guide to flipping phones and electronics. It's the 2025 version. It's 18 pages long in PDF format. You can find it below in the description. I also have a ebook that's about 120 pages long that goes into much more detail and all of that. You can actually find that on episode 11 of the podcast for free. But if you do want the PDF version, you can buy it for $4.95 in the description below. But with that being said, uh, let's jump into today's episode. Uh, Guys, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the 30 things I learned phone flipping before 30. So my 30th birthday was yesterday. Um, Past 10 years have actually been, looking back, it was actually kind of slow, but fast at the same time. So, but there's a lot of things that I learned along the way. I want to dive into them. So we're just going to pop right in. There's 30 things I want to go over, and I think a lot of you guys are going to like this, especially because I know a lot of you guys are driving around, listening to this podcast, picking up deals. You guys tell me that all the time, and I'm really happy about that. It means you're actually learning something. So, but with that being said, let's pop in. Matt, you ready?
Yeah, let's get it. And happy birthday, Chris Schroeder.
I appreciate it, man. So, the very first thing that I have learned in the past 10 years is action beats perfection every single time. You need to start now, learn as you go, and adapt quickly. Waiting for the perfect time is literally the biggest mistake. So, I want to tell a story on this real quick. So, we recently built Resale Hawk, which is our automated marketplace software. And I tell this story about it all the time. Is I am not a coder, I'm not a developer, I'm none of that. Okay, I don't need those titles though to build something. Okay,
Fair.
um, so I actually reached out to my developer who we had already had on Resale Hawk, and I was like, "Hey, I got an idea. I want to do this. Is it possible?" He didn't respond for like, I'll be real, it was like 3 hours, and I was like, "This is on my mind. I'm gonna figure out how to do it right now." So I went to Chat GPT. I'm like, "How can I do this? How can I make this work?" And anyway, it came up as like, "Well, you could do a Chrome extension." I'm like, "All right, cool. How do I do that?" And then it's kind of it from there. I built the entire thing in about 15 hours straight. Like I no coding experience. I had Chat GPT literally teach me how to code. It
Nice.
was a whole thing. So action beats perfection. This goes for phone flipping as well. You are going to screw up, and that's okay. And we're going to get to that a little bit here in a minute as well. But I mean, Matt, you see me like I use you as kind of my sounding board for ideas. Like, let's be real. Like, I'm always hitting you up. Like, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about that? What do you think about
Yep.
this?
Very
Like,
true.
and you
Very
always
true.
have great like stuff. Like, what do you think about that whole action? Like,
There's I'm will butcher who was originally, worth quoting this on, but a poor plan executed today is better than a perfect plan executed tomorrow.
love that.
Right? So yeah, this is about putting traction to where you are in the present moment and not getting too caught in your head about taking the next steps. There are so many people that I think probably even hear this podcast and are consuming this content with and gaining knowledge without the experience that is needed to push them to that next step. And I think if you can gain knowledge and immediately test it, that's really what's going to help you win the day and also feel like you're moving your business in a direction that is healthy.
Yeah, dude. That's one thing I hear from people is like, let's say they buy one of our programs, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll use it. I'll look at it next week. That right there is your biggest mistake. That is why most people have so so much trouble getting started is
Yeah.
because of that right there. Okay, I got this thing.
Yeah.
I'll check it out next week.
Right.
And then next week comes and you forgot about it already. Guys, like I didn't realize like I operated a lot differently than a lot of people in the beginning because as soon as I bought David's course way back when, I jumped into that thing immediately. Like as
Yeah.
soon as that payment went through, I was in. I consumed the whole thing in 2 days. And what I started realizing as I started selling programs and mentorships and things like that, people don't do that. I didn't realize that. I thought like that's what everybody did. If you bought this thing, you would use it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. But I want to move on to the next one because I'm not going to dwell on that too much because sometimes that does upset me a little bit because I there's a lot of
Yeah.
graveyard businesses out there who just never got off the ground, right?
Yeah.
Um, the next one here is that I've learned is failure is a part of the process. Every mistake teaches you something valuable if you're willing to learn. So, rewind here a little bit. I back when the iPhone X came out a couple years ago, uh, I sold it on eBay. The guy, this was my first return request ever on eBay,
Oh, okay.
and I panicked and I refunded him immediately.
Oh,
And I never got the phone back. It was an $800 mistake
ugh,
then. But I
painful.
was distressed, obviously. However, here's what I learned. I learned to never do that again. I
Yeah.
learned very quickly, and this is before I had actually bought a course or any help on anything. Um, like honestly, all of that could have been avoided as well. Like
Yeah.
like I could have just asked the community or a Facebook group that I was in and gotten an answer pretty quick on what to do. But I
That's
didn't.
true.
I panicked because I didn't have a community to ask, and I didn't have
Mm.
anybody to ask. Um, Makes me wonder how many like pitfalls our students have like just veered out of the way of.
Yeah. That's
By
true.
like you can never know, sadly, what they might have like steered away from. So it's interesting. But failure
Yeah.
is a part of the process. Like you're going to screw up. My first buy ever was two iCloud locked iPhone 6s, 6 pluses.
Mm.
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to operate an iPhone, but I learned pretty quickly what an iCloud lock was.
Right.
So, um, yeah. Anything to add to that, dude? Like
Um,
you're being a part of the
I, I,
process.
I think, there's, I heard a coach once say that there's not winners and losers, there's winners and learners. And I like reframing uh, cultural context in ways that makes more sense because black and white polarized thinking, I think, is typically really a really poor way to live your life. Like it's either this or it's either that. No, there's room for everybody to grow and get better at this. And I think if you give yourself that margin to like improve and learn, you're smart and you're going to be the guy that's going to keep moving forward.
There's another quote out there. It's just all about failing faster, right?
Hmm.
Like if you fail faster, you get the failures out of the way faster.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The next one is success comes from consistency. This is something that I had to learn the hardest way. Um, but the people that stick with it are the ones that see results. I want to back up on here a little story. So I went to my high school reunion, my 10-year reunion, a couple months back, and one of the guys came over, and he was like, "Dude, are you still doing that like reselling thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I'm actually teaching other people, and I built a couple softwares and stuff now for it." He's like, "Dude, you've been doing that forever, like crazy, dude." He's like, "I've done like 6 different things at this point, but you're still doing that one thing." And he's like, "I'm sure you're doing incredible with it now." I'm like, "I mean, yeah, we're doing pretty well. Like, I
Right.
can't complain."
Yeah.
Um, And like that was a big like moment for me. I was like, okay, I'm being noticed. You know,
Mm.
like this is being like this work is being noticed
Yeah.
and the consistency is paying off here. But
Yeah.
also consistency, what I don't think people realize is it compounds a lot
Yeah.
over time. Um, like it's just like investing, and right, if you just keep adding in,
Yeah.
the same thing works with learning as well. Like the
Yeah.
more you learn, the more it compounds upon each other. And I call that success stack, or not success stacking, but skill stacking.
Hmm.
If you stack enough skills, they kind of form this little like web of like a brain of itself. Interestingly
Yeah.
enough, and then you can work things together, and it's interesting. But if you stay consistent, you will win. I mean, Matt, you've been consistent with flipping consoles for how long now?
A little over 5 years.
You're now known as the console king. What's
Yeah.
funny is like people think you have all this knowledge. You just been doing it for a while and you've seen enough things, you know?
Yeah. I think in any industry you have to be around long enough to build a vocabulary of understanding. I like to think of skills like the way people think of learning like languages or music is how long do you have to sit in that chair until you actually know like how to play all the chords on the guitar, or how long does it take to learn Spanish or German? And then when immersion is what breeds mastery. And most people, I think, in a culture that is focused on instant gratification, and obviously culturally being fed that through all the different avenues all the time, I think it's really easy to think that somehow you can look at your results or my results or the wins that people post, or the wins you post in the, nothing held back phone flipping, um, and somehow think that that happened first go round. And of course, we help accelerate that process, right? That's why mentorship is worth the price. Is like you can pay in time or you can pay in income, but there's one of those that you're not going to get any more of, and you got to be smart about how you choose to spend your time because it is a currency. Um, but yeah, consistency wins every time.
Yeah. Fourth one here is a strong why keeps you going. So like this is a big one. So for me in the beginning, it wasn't really about financial freedom. It was like I wanted time with my family. Like that was the biggest thing. Like I wanted to be a dad. So once I became a dad, I realized that working took me away from being a dad.
Mhm.
And it does that apparently, right? So um like that was my why is I wanted to be home with my children.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be
right
that
on.
dad that's always away all the time.
Mm.
And I remember whenever I finally did go full time, I was home all the time. Like my son does not know a life where I am away for hours at a time. Like I was gone for about 3 hours the other day. And like my oldest, he's 6. He's like, "Where's Daddy?" Like, like it had just happened upon. He was like, he was
Yeah,
over. He was in the bedroom asking Taylor, my wife. He was like, "Where'd Daddy go? Like, where's he at? Like, because he doesn't know a
yeah,
life outside of me not being home or picking them up from school or dropping them off or whatever.
yeah.
Um, and I remember back to my high school days, like we were I was a senior and like they asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up and I said I want to be a good dad. And like that is still the goal.
Heck yeah.
And I mean I homeschool him. He literally goes to Starbucks with me to buy electronics and we homeschool at the Starbucks. That's cool, you know? Like that's my
Yeah,
why. Like and it
yeah.
also like I let him actually count money out and stuff now to the customers. So now he does believe that I have a magic card that can buy anything. So we're working on the money part right now.
In due time,
And
young man.
yeah. Yeah, I handed him some dollar bills one time to go buy some stuff at Starbucks and he was like, What are these?" And I'm like, "Okay, got it. This is the
Yeah.
next thing we're learning right now."
You should tell him it's your Jedi card. Just wave your hand and you can purchase things.
Well, he knows how to purchase things now, like with my car. Like he knows how to use the machine and everything.
Heck yeah.
He's 6 years old, so I didn't know how to do that at six. So, um,
Mm, that's fair.
the next one here is stay humble and keep learning. I mean, my biggest thing is learn, 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 right? Like
Uh-huh.
in my 20s, that was kind of my thing is like I didn't I didn't care too much to save a lot. Now and that could be part of the downfall, but I invested a lot, well over $100,000 in mentorship and learning. Um, Now that, to a lot of you listening, you're probably like, you should have invested that. You should have bought phones with that. You should have done this, that, and everything else with that. Well, let me tell you what I got from that is I got skills that I never would have gotten anywhere else. I would not have gotten them from college. I would not have gotten them from buying more phones. I wouldn't have got any of that. This award here is for doing over $1 million using a Facebook group, selling high ticket. That doesn't come from college. That doesn't come from buying more phones. That doesn't come from that. It's a
Yeah.
completely different skill set. And that skill set has allowed me to translate over into negotiations with electronics because you go from selling high ticket coaching for other people, like $5,000 worth of stuff, to negotiating to sell somebody some cash to buy their phone,
Hmm.
dude, it's like it's completely different. It's like
Hmm.
it becomes 10 times easier. Like a lot of you guys thinking right now, like negotiating with people is difficult. You are selling people cash. It is not that difficult if you know what you're doing. Like, so keep learning. If you just keep learning, you'll be able to stack a lot of skills and you'll be able to do a lot more.
Heck yeah.
Um, so these are going by categories, by the way. So this first five was mindset and growth. The next one is going to be money and deals. The first one is you don't need much to start. I started with $200. A few $100s and the willingness to hustle can be, your key to thousands of dollars in profit.
Hmm.
Let's be real. Like Matt, you help people start with consoles, and the first console flip that they can, what an Oculus for 60, $70, like,
Yep.
and they can flip it for total 150. Like,
Yeah. Roughly triple their investment.
like you don't need a lot. A lot of people think you need a lot. You don't need a lot. Like, you just don't.
It's true.
um, I like this one a lot. Every deal is a lesson. So, whether you win or you lose on a deal, you're always going to learn something new. So, example, I got a good example here. So, this phone here, is this the one? Yeah, this one right here. I bought this phone a couple of days ago. I checked everything, made sure the charger worked. Now, the only thing that I didn't check, and I rarely ever check, was is it if it connected to iTunes. So it'll charge, but it won't connect to iTunes. Weirdly enough.
Hmm.
Very interesting. But I learned something. I lost a little bit on that because there's something obviously up with the charging port, and I can't reset the phone now.
Oh no.
um, but you learn something from every deal, whether it's a win or a loss. And if
Yeah.
you take it from that mindset, you will win more than you lose almost every single deal. So every single deal is a lesson. Meeting with the customer every single time is a lesson. You will learn something every single deal that you do. Yeah. So I don't know about you, Matt, but I don't know. Does that resonate on anything or remind you of anything?
I think, yeah, completely. I think if you're just I can't over express how important it is to be perceptive. Pay attention to people, pay attention to their patterns, their habits, pay attention to products, pay attention to what seems to be the pattern with certain products. And just look for that. Just surely look for that. Like, um, there's probably a type of person who's a better customer to work with, and you could probably save yourself from scams if you're just perceptive.
Yep.
There's probably a type of person who's going to One thing I talk about is like people that are indifferent, people that don't care, people that aren't emotionally attached to their stuff are really easy to do deals with. Um, because they're not desperate. They probably don't need the money as bad as other people, or they're probably so tired of that item that they just want cash instead of that item. That was just a perception thing. So just be perceptive.
Love that. Um, I learned this one from David K. Profit is made in the buy. I know a
A
lot of you guys disagree with that, and you're probably not making very much money. Everybody that's ever said that they disagree with me has either not one, not started their business, and two, is not making a lot of money. Um, but the profit is made in the purchase. We already know what this thing is going to sell for. We already know. This is not a sports card business where it has like a FOMO effect or like crypto where it's another FOMO effect, right?
yeah,
Like we know what these things are going to sell for. We know there is a market value for this item in the marketplace. If you look, I just had somebody on YouTube actually. I posted about an Xbox Series X that I bought the other day for $200. He's like, and I was letting people know it's like a little dusty inside, all of that.
right.
And he's like, that's not going to sell for over $300. And I'm like, it sold last night for 335. And he's like, you're a liar. I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, I literally got to go find a box for this thing, but okay. You
Right.
know?
I'll be the
So
one laughing on the way to the bank.
yeah, he was also like, you need to clean that thing out. You need to clean the dust out of it before you sell it. And I'm like, I don't do that. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a little dusty. They can clean it if they want to. I put it in the description. I said it's a little dusty, the fan on the inside, but it's all good. Works fine. Powered it up. Whatever. It's sold. 335. I paid
Right.
200.
I guess people can live with a little dust.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things. But um yeah, profit is made in the buy, guys. Like we know what something is going to sell for. Like this
Mhm.
phone that I bought the other day, this 14 Pro Max. I looked at the direct buyer sheet before I ever purchased it. I can't remember what I put it at, but I think it was like 450. I bought it
Okay.
for 350. I knew what it was going to sell for. I had a guaranteed price. So I made $100 as soon as I bought it.
Awesome.
Um let's keep going here. Negotiation is a skill. Okay.
Totally.
So the better you get at it, the more you profit. Now I'm gonna steal a line from Aaron Goldstein here. He talks a lot about um, the longer you're in this business, the better you get, and the more money you make. And he's right because and he talks about this because he's had over 40,000 message negotiation conversations at this point, and I probably had the same. I've been in it about as long as Aaron.
Yeah.
Um, But the more you negotiate with people, the better your skill set gets. When you follow scripts from people that are reputable and that have been doing this for a long time, they end up working somehow, you know? Like I don't
Yep.
know how they do, but they've only been tested thousands of times.
Right.
So, um, but negotiation is a skill. And if you can build your negotiation skills over time, it can be one of the most valuable assets that you can ever have. Now, you can also swap out negotiation with sales. Okay. So, like, because you are selling people something, you are selling them cash. That is what you were doing. And the better you get at that, the more money you're going to make.
Yep.
The next one here is track your numbers. Okay. Know your costs, profits, and margins. It's the only way to grow. So one thing that we moved recently to I have some office hours in Recelerator, but the only way that people can actually book that call to get an office hour with me is if their KPI sheet and KPI and accountability sheet is filled out. If it is not, they cannot book a call with me, and there's a reason for that because I've noticed in the past, um, people make a lot of judgment based on emotion and not data, right? So the first thing I ever ask, like whenever somebody's like, this isn't working for me, Google ads aren't working for me. Facebook ads aren't working for me. I'm like, what is your return on ad spend? Oh, I don't know. Then how do you know it's not working? You know, like if you don't know that it's not, if you don't know the numbers, then you don't know anything. So I'm pretty, I would say that's probably the most aggressive thing that I'm aggressive on in the program. Am I right, Matt?
Yeah. No, but what I think what that does is it takes people from a mom and pop mindset to or amateur mentality to no, you've got to run this like a business. And the reason your
Yeah.
business isn't excelling is because you're not treating it like one. Good business is good math. And
Yeah.
guys, I hope you hear this in conjunction with what Chris is saying. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Like you can't manage what you don't measure. Like if you want to cut weight, you got to count your macros. If
Get
you
on the
want to
scale every
gain
day.
if you want to gain mass, you got to know how much weight you're pushing in the gym. If you want to build your business, you've got to track your metrics.
You also got to do it consistently too. Like,
That's right.
like just the act of tracking alone will make you better. Like if you step on the scale every single day and you are aware of the weight that you are at. This is something I do because I track my weight and stuff. And it does like a mental subconscious shift in the brain. Like you're like, oh, 2 pounds after yesterday? What did I do yesterday? It changes things. Like,
Uh-huh.
um, but the act of tracking alone will make you better.
Uh-huh.
Like, and
Agreed.
that's something I personally realized. Like
Yeah.
I use an app called Strides, and it shows me like I'm in the I don't know why, but I'm in like a habit building phase. I don't know, I'm going through it.
Mhm.
But I use an app called Strides where I have like certain things I need to do every day. And then after a while it actually will start showing me my average trends. Like like I've completed 86% of my 5 critical tasks for the past 14 days or something like that. So like
Yeah.
I'm tracking stuff, to make sure that I know what's happening, and like that alone makes me aware
Uh-huh.
of what I'm doing and why. Like, if, for example, if I'm not losing weight, I can literally open that app and be like, okay, so there was 3 days in a row where I didn't eat clean. Got it. That's probably my problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, track your numbers, track your stuff. So we're moving into efficiency and scaling now. Um, Systems are everything. So I wish I would have learned this sooner. I was actually talking with Mohammed Aladami the other day, and he said the same exact thing. He's like, I wish I would have invested in a CRM and systems a lot sooner
Mm.
because automation tools like that can save you tons of time. Resell deck saves people a ton of time on follow ups and things like that. Resale Hawk, one of our newest things, saves people. I literally had we had somebody join the program the other day, and he was like, "This is cut out like 90% of the time that I was spending on Facebook Marketplace." Like, systems are everything to me. I love like to the point where one of my students calls me the system scientist because I love finding systems that work.
I dig that.
And honestly, most of the time, those systems are built upon things that I've already been doing for a long time. So I've
Yeah.
like built the habit. And then I just get to the point one day where I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Like, and this is like, whenever Matt joined the team, I never did reach outs. It wasn't my thing. Like, he kind of broke me in a way on that by using my students. They started picking stuff up left and right. And then what did I do? Started doing 20 reach outs a day. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. But I did it because it worked and there was a
Yeah. It
system
makes
behind it.
money.
Yeah. I mean, over time, I ended up building kind of my own system. Matt has his three ping method. I have my one message that I send.
Hmm.
And then that over time turned into Resale Hawk. So the system turned into a software. But systems are everything. Having a system for all of that is incredibly important. The next one here is time is your most valuable resource. You need to spend it on what generates the most results, like sourcing and closing deals. So if you can get to the point where you're spending more time sourcing and closing deals, that's the best thing that you could be doing, right? Like instead,
Yeah.
like
Getting inventory.
getting inventory. If you're getting inventory every day and selling it too, I have to put that in there.
Yep.
So I want to say that because if you can free up the time on these like admin tasks, like you can spend a lot more time on the stuff that actually makes the needle move, which is sourcing and closing.
Yeah. Straight up.
Don't be afraid to delegate. I have a VA. She handles a lot of stuff in the background
Hmm.
for me. She generates new ad photos all the time. Um, she handles weekly calls. Like she handles a lot of stuff for me. She even works a lot on my eBay listings. So don't be afraid to delegate. Whether that's getting somebody to close for you, and stuff like that. Like once you get to the point where obviously you can't make it work yourself or you can't keep up, that's the time to delegate. And usually I recommend delegating out like an eBay lister first, then a closer, and then somebody to pick up your deals. And that's usually the way it works. That's my recommendation anyway. Um, Leverage technology, definitely recommend that, especially my technology. um, Obviously ads, use ads to grow your business, get more inbound, right? If you get more inbound, you'll close more deals. Um, Outbound usually has a 1 to 5% close rate. Now Matt over here is probably closer to like 25%, but he's also got more experience. But using ads and things like that to get leverage is basically like um, putting out uh, business cards every single day, utilizing ads. It's basically think of how much time it would take you to hand out 100 business cards, right? Like, it'd probably take you a little while. You got to meet 100 people. That's a lot of people. But if you could utilize ads to do that, it'll help you out big time. Um, Another one here, you can't do it all alone. And Matt, I think you can
Yeah.
speak to this one, but you want to surround yourself with a community of like-minded people for support and ideas. I know you can relate to that. So,
Yeah. People are hardwired for community.
yeah.
I mean, how stop if you're listening to this. How did you feel during COVID? Were you, and there's a few introverts out there be like, dude, I was having the time of my life. Okay. But at some point you probably wanted to still break free and go be around people and mix it up. And I like to say it like this, none of us is as smart as all of us. And so if you can apply a previous one Chris mentioned, which is stay humble and keep learning, right? Well, this I think tethers directly into that is, man, there's such a diversity of perspective out there. And that's what I'm about. I'm all about getting fresh perspective from people that can see things from an angle that I haven't. Um, and phone flippers hit different than console flippers, hit different than couch flippers. And you come into this community and you find this cool mishmash of all these different varieties of people that have like flipped all kinds of stuff. You got everything flippers out there, people that just like
Yeah.
scrap from estate sales and garage sales and auctions and you gather so much insight from everything and it just becomes this composite of who you are as a human. And it's pretty cool, I think, to be on the giving and receiving end of those contributions. That's what community does. It makes you better. It sharpens you.
Yep. Also saves you from a lot of scams too.
Straight up. Yeah. All right. Hey, who can vouch for this guy? And there's like three people that'll be like, he's a good dude. Didn't have to go chasing for that
We
answer.
had somebody post in the Slack group the other day. They posted a photo of a phone, and like three people immediately were like, "Yep, that's fake," and they gave reasons why. I think Curtis even downloaded the photo, circled the bezel area, and was like, "Here is why it is fake," and gave like detailed instructions on why it was fake. And
Yeah.
like that is a community. That is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
because he didn't have to do that.
Right.
Um, like I wouldn't have even done that. I would have just said it was fake. Like, but I didn't take it that extreme. But like, that's the kind of community you want to be in.
Yeah. Totally.
Next one here is treat people with respect, whether it's a buyer, seller, or pawn shop owner. Building relationships pays off. in the long run. It really does. Like I have to say this, like I try to treat everybody with respect, whether they're brand new to this place or whether they're somebody doing way bigger numbers than us. I try to treat everybody with respect. Every seller I have that meets up with me, I'm always asking them how their day is going. The other day, funny enough, the Xbox that I sold was actually from this customer. He had sold me a phone first, and then he sold me a monitor, like a high level gaming monitor, and then the Xbox. But the very first time we ever met, and I bought his phone, we sat there and talked for like 30 minutes. And the reason was is because number one, I like to get to know my customers a little bit because they come back when you do that. But he also had a really cool story. Like he was in the military and he was stationed overseas in Ukraine and stuff like that. Like it was like he had stories to tell and it was really cool. So treat people with respect. People aren't just um, a transaction, and they will come back and they will refer you people. They will sell you more stuff. You will make more money. Um, the next one here is communication is key. You need to be clear, honest, and professional in any interaction. So, um, we got our Slack group right now is popping with pawn shop stuff. And Pawn Shop Profits has been out for like a year and a half at this point in that community. And I guess people just need to hear it from somebody else. But um
Wait, what?
yeah,
Anyway.
right. Like God. Anyway, um so whenever for example, whenever I walk into a pawn shop, I'm very clear, I'm honest, and I'm professional in what I do. I walk in, I find an employee, and I'm like, "Hey, my name's Chris. I run an electronics business in the area where I buy used and damaged broken stuff. Do you guys have anything either in the back or up front that you want me to look at that I can make you guys an offer on today?" I'm very clear, honest, and professional about how I do that. I do the same thing with marketplace reach outs. I let people know that I run a business that buys used and damaged electronics. I let them know everything that I buy, and then I ask if they would take a lower offer if I was able to pay cash today. I'm very clear about what I do. I don't try to, oh, I got to go talk to my boss, or
Mm,
I don't do any of that because I'm not going to lie, right? And people will respect you for that. Like I had a guy yesterday, he was selling me some stuff, and he was like, "So what do you do? Like, how long you been doing this?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been doing this for like 8 years." He's like, "Wow, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a good, it's nice, you know. Like, I don't have to work a job when I do this." And he was like, "What? Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like, pretty cool gig. I make about $80 per device." And he's like, "Oh wow, that's pretty cool." You know, once again, pretty honest about what I'm doing here. Like people respect that, and that was the second time that he had sold me something. So, um, moving on to this, repeat customers are gold. If you build trust, people will come back again and again. Seen it time and time again.
accurate.
Like a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people do what I call one night stand type of transactions. Real man, they show up, they
Yeah.
look all weird, they act weird, they don't try to communicate, they just try to buy the thing and leave. Like, do you think that person's gonna want to do business with you again? Like if you're completely silent the whole time, and
Yeah.
you're just looking over the device and you're nitpicking every little thing that's wrong with the phone, like trying to get it lower. Like, guys, there are days where I take a loss on devices to keep the customer. I'm okay with that because I
Hmm.
want their business in the future, right? So, um, repeat customers, focus on them. They are literal gold. I had one student who 54% of his entire business was repeat. And I think Ken right now, we're interviewing Ken here in a few days. I think half of his business right now is repeat customers. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Um, guys, can you imagine making like 5 grand a month just off of like for free off of a repeat customer? Let's be real here, it adds up. So
Yeah, it does.
the next one here is the one that I annoy the students most about. What do you think
Well,
it is?
Well, Chris, could I interject real quick? And
Oh
I would
yeah,
like
go
to
for it.
point out that those two previous points that you brought up, and I hope people heard it, those things are definitely like related to one another. Like treat people like they matter, okay? And you'll cultivate repeat customers. So think the transactional way you were talking about, like short-term gain, long-term loss. Think long-term gain, short-term loss, right? If you have to eat something, but you still gain the long-term business, that's what it is to gain a repeat customer. And I just think that um, there's a lot of good stuff in that point. So, anyways,
So the next one here is something that I'm very aggressive on, and it comes up almost every single call that I do with our students. What do you think it is, Matt? Before I say it.
well, I have access to the list over here, so I've got like a cheat sheet.
Oh, that's not fair. Anyway, it's follow up. um, Deals are often closed in the follow up, not the first conversation. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Um,
Ayo.
so if any of you guys like follow me and we've talked on Facebook before, I've probably followed up with you. I'm gonna be real. Like if I've ever reached out to you about how's your reselling business doing, all of that stuff, like or some sort of message like that, that means I've followed up with you. I'm aggressive on follow ups, very aggressive. And the reason for that is because only like 3% of deals are closed on the first message, but 80% of deals are closed on the 10th message or the eighth message or something like that. But like that's why I'm so because I learned that very early on and I'm like, "Oh, I just have to talk to this person more often."
Mhm.
And guys, following up can be as simple as, "Hey, following up on this. Hey, do you still want to sell this? Hey, just I'm out and about buying stuff today. I just wanted to make sure see if you were looking to sell this. Hey, did that
Yeah.
other person buy it?" Guys, it can be I will literally say following up on this
Yeah.
to a person. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about you." You
Ah.
know. Like I had somebody this morning actually. She was supposed to meet up with me yesterday. She didn't show up. I didn't take it to heart. That was a no show. It's okay. Anyway, she just got back with me and she's like, "My apologies. So many things started to happen with my car on the middle of the interstate yesterday. I was trying to see about the iPad Mini sell for 140. I can meet you whenever you're ready. I have a free day today if you're still willing to buy from me." This is because I followed up. Like, hey,
Oh,
we miss each other. Don't know what happened, but I'm still looking to buy your devices. And she had car issues. She probably didn't want to let me know that. Some people are embarrassed. Let's be real, guys.
yeah. That isn't, I mean, I get it.
I wouldn't want to tell somebody that something bad going on in my life, like,
Truly. Yeah.
but like if they reached out and be like, "Hey, looks like we missed each other. Let's see if we can work something out for tomorrow." I'd be like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, I wouldn't tell them, what's going on in my life, but I'd be like, "All right, yeah, sorry about yesterday. Things got, whatever." So follow up. Okay. Um, the next one here is don't be afraid to walk away.
I like this one.
Numbers don't work. Move on to the next deal.
Yeah, I
Don't feel
like
like
this.
you're obligated to buy something from somebody. Okay. You never want to be put in that position. Um, like your power is actually in walking away. So
Yeah.
great example. The other day, I had a guy who messaged me. He's like, I got two 15 Pro Maxes um, in great condition. I'm like, I can't remember what I offered. I think it was like 500 each because they were like 1 terabyte or something like that. And he's like, "Oh well, I got somebody who's willing to pay 700 each for them." And I'm like, "Bro, that's amazing. Like
Hmm.
they're paying more than my buyers are, like a lot more. I would recommend selling to them. If you have
Heck
their
yeah.
number, let me know." This dude called me 3 times asking, be like, "Hey, just wanted to reach out and ask if you're willing to go up on your offer at all." I'm like, "No, I can't. Just the numbers aren't working, my man. Like I would take those deals for $700. By the way, walking away is one of the most powerful things that you can do.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna make like on a local deal, if you're gonna make $40 per device to close the deal,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's not worth it if you're paying $500 a device.
Yeah.
Not worth it to me. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make at least 80 to 100 on a local deal. Now, if you're a direct buyer, it's different. You work in volume, it's a different game. But
Yeah.
being able to walk away from a deal if it doesn't make sense is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
People don't realize it. Like once you take something away from somebody, they want it more, you know?
Yeah.
Did you want to add something to that? I know you said you were excited for that one.
Um, people can smell your desperation
Yeah, that's a good point.
and you can sense it with others. And that's the thing is like I tell new and existing students this all the time. There's always another deal. And the reason that I'm always, I guess, kind of harping on that point is you don't need this deal. This isn't the one silver bullet that's going to make or break your career as a side hustler or a reseller. And the sooner you learn that and cultivate, and it's really about having an abundance mentality, right?
Yeah,
Like you can smell scarcity and desperation.
sure can.
But there's, oh my gosh, I could, for anybody that's listening to this, I could jump in your zip code right now and probably find you 20 deals. And Chris could validate that and be like,
Validate that. He did it 2 days ago for somebody.
so we're not capping when I say that, but it's like there's always another deal out there. And
Crazy
this
thing is,
deal,
it was in an area where we already have a student.
sure. Yeah, it
Like
was.
it was Pittsburgh. Like,
Yeah,
and Matt jumped in. Like, we got a guy in Pittsburgh he's full time. Like,
yeah,
and
he
Matt was
is.
still able to find 20 deals for the dude.
Yeah. There's money everywhere. And you learn that. And I think that's another beautiful thing about this community is there's a mentality shift that happens. But I think that that mentality is learned and it's a muscle that gets flexed one deal made at a time. And so you guys can see kind of the compounding effect of some of these points coming together, but I think they swirl together pretty beautifully in this one that Chris is talking about. And so yeah, just people can smell your desperation. So don't be too desperate for the deal. Be like, I don't need this, but I'd love to have your business.
Yep.
And guess what? The guy came to Chris. Chris didn't go to him.
Yeah.
Who has the leverage? You tell me.
I 100% have the leverage there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why I love ads so much is
Yeah.
gives me the leverage.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, don't be afraid to walk away, guys. It's a very powerful thing to have.
Yep.
Um, the next one here, we're going to be going over finding deals on these next five. Um,
Cool.
marketplaces are your playground. Facebook, OfferUp, Craigslist. There's money. We kind of just talked about this too. There's money to be made literally everywhere.
Yep.
I remember the first time Matt actually sourced my zip code early on when he joined the team. He found deals left and freaking right. Like on things that I didn't even know existed. Like I didn't know that a Valve Index existed. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And like an Oculus Quest, I had never bought one before. I had only bought like PS4s and game consoles. Um, but like Matt was finding stuff left and right. He literally it was almost like he took the blinders off of my eyeballs and just and once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know, like
Yeah.
when you jump into marketplace and you're like, oh, deal, 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 deal. I can negotiate that down, deal. You know, like
Hmm.
it's that type of thing that actually really happens.
It's real.
And it's the same on Facebook, OfferUp, Craigslist, and guys, this is coming from a guy who did his first 10 grand in profit on Facebook ads alone. Like I didn't do any reach outs. I didn't believe in it at all, and
Yeah, you really didn't.
I really did. I really hated that. Hey, you know what? That and I think that's another valuable lesson there is knowing when you're wrong, like
Mhm.
and being open to the possibility of other ways working.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're the big one that showed me that. So, uh, the next one I want to talk about here, and I love this one. This one's one of my favorite. Broken does not mean worthless. I love broken stuff. Love it. Those are my favorite things. Whenever somebody hits me up with 13 Pro Max cracked, no power, I love it. I can't tell you guys how much I love it because I know I can lowball the absolute crap out of them. and make a lot more money than I ever could off of a used item. The
Yeah.
reason I say that is because it's true. Like I buy broken MacBooks all the time. I buy
Hmm.
broken iPads all the time, broken phones, broken cameras. I buy all sorts of broken stuff all the time. And I love them because when you're selling them on eBay, you're selling them as is. You don't need to fix anything. And you can just be very clear to the buyer. There's no returns on this one because it is broken, beyond repair. You can't use it, kind of thing. Buy at
Yeah.
your own risk, kind of stuff.
Yep.
And guys, what's crazy is people buy them.
They
People
do.
buy this. I sold an iPad the other day that was literally bent. Like it was bent. Like you could visibly see it. And somebody bought it for $220.
That's crazy.
Like I got it for 75. So like broken doesn't mean worthless. I absolutely love broken electronics.
Yeah.
I don't think
And
you do a whole lot with broken, Matt. I'm not sure.
no, I definitely sell broken. Here's the thing is like if I'm not a fix and flip guy. I'll tell you guys that right now. Maybe some of you are, and to all of you who are fix and flip enthusiasts, hey, power to you. Keep rocking in the free world. But for broken stuff, the thing you got to realize is the professional side of it is running your business according to ROI and not according to just like dollars. Like, I think sometimes with the newer or working stuff, people get fixated, and it's like the margins on broken stuff is actually better than the margins on stuff that works.
Always.
And if you can make that mental switch, you're going to make more money than the next person.
If you were to put most profitable in a line, it would be broken stuff, used stuff, new stuff.
Yeah,
Margin on new stuff usually is pretty bad. Um, and you have to do a lot of volume to actually make some money there because
yeah,
people know what they got. Let's be real. Like
yeah,
this iPhone over here is new in the box. It's worth something, you know? But
yeah.
when that iPhone is run over, people don't know if that's worth something anymore, you know?
Yeah, it is. You know, there is a there's it's weird. There's like this broken things are probably some of the most undervalued stuff on the market because you're right, people don't know how to price it. They don't know what to do with it. They're not interested in fixing it. Like the level of indifference is so extreme. It's just like sitting in a drawer somewhere or maybe about to be thrown in the trash.
Yeah, it's true. The next thing here is pawn shops are underrated. This is a big theme in my Slack community right now because one of our guys, Aaron, different Aaron than our coach, but he started buying from pawn shop that he's been driving past for like years.
Yeah,
And he bought what 4,900 and stuff yesterday, I think something like that.
he bought a
Um,
lot.
yeah, so like I've been telling people this for years. Like Matt, how long have I been telling people this? Like pawn shops, pawn shops, pawn shops. I'm a broken
Yeah.
record at this point. Like
Yeah.
like go into your pawn shops, talk to people. And the one thing I love about pawn shops is most of the time they don't know what they got.
Yeah.
Like
It's true.
broken stuff, they don't sell broken stuff to the public, just FYI. They don't do that. Um, so I always like to go into pawn shops and I'm like, look, I run an electronics business. I buy used and broken electronics. What do you guys got that I can make you an offer on today? It's really that simple. Like,
Yeah.
trust me, they will work with you. I promise. These pawn shops don't make that much, and they are willing and open to work big deals out with you a
True.
lot of the time.
Yeah. And it
I've
helps
only,
to know that like they operate like in cash. Like they
yes,
want
they do.
cash.
Yeah, they want you to drop cash in their pockets.
Yeah.
um, so pawn shops are very underrated. The next thing here is like learn to spot red flags. So checking for scams, stolen devices, and shady buyers. This is something that like we can somewhat teach, but like at the same time, we haven't seen everything. We've seen a lot, but we haven't seen everything, right? A good example of this, so really good example actually, is one of our guys, David, Ingu, as however you say his last name. I was able to help him spot a scam on a game console that he or a VR headset that he had sold for $800. And we were able to fix that very quickly. What had basically happened is he sold this $800 thing. A scammer then messaged him with a different address, which is a very
Yeah.
common scam on eBay.
Yeah.
Um, and he ended up changing the address to send it to the scammer. And luckily, I was able to help him catch it in time because we were doing a check-in call. And I was like, dude, we need to put in an intercept right now, before it gets there because you will not be able to get it back once it gets there. And we were able to intercept it. He was able to get it back, and he canceled the order because he screwed up. Right, he didn't know, but like we saved an $800 mistake because we knew what that red flag was,
Right.
and like he probably would have quit the business. Let's be real. Like when that
That's
happens to people, a lot of the time, what happens is they quit.
that's an
Lose
expensive mistake.
$800, they're like, I'm done. That almost happened in Yvonne. Like
Yeah.
for any of you guys who I know a lot of you guys listening to this podcast have listened to that podcast. He almost quit the entire business
Hmm.
because he bought a fake phone.
Hmm.
We were able to help him out, be like, look, dude, it's okay. Like, you're going to be all right. And now he's a direct buyer. Like,
Yep.
but like, we were able to talk him off the ledge because we knew the red flags and we were able to help him through it. Um, so, yeah. Anything on that, Matt, on spotting red flags?
Um, Again, be perceptive, pay attention to, I mean, when I talk to people and coach them through marketplace and other marketplaces, it's pay attention to the product and the person. Um, and just ensure that everything checks out. Like look at their photos. Do their photos look legit? Right? Do they look like they took screenshots and reposted stuff? Like really practical, simple, common sense things. Like don't, and that's the thing is like scammers are going to throw something at you that it's a shiny object. And in most cases, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. So you just got to learn to trust your gut and your instinct and not allow the dream of making, oh, but I can make $1,000 on this deal. Or you could lose $1,000 on this deal. Like, just keep it real. Like, don't get so fixated on the one thing that you're not covering your base on the other. That's all.
Yeah. We're winding down here. We only got six left.
All right.
Um, the next one is keep your ads simple. This is more for me, but this is something I've just learned over the years and running ads for literally hundreds of people. Uh, keep your ads simple. Be clear, straightforward, and that messaging is the gets you the best response. Like, stop trying to be cute. Stop trying to be uh, complicated. Complex does not sell. It actually makes things harder. Um, the simpler you can make something, the better. You want
Yeah.
it to be like a fifth grader can read it, and if a fifth grader can read it, you're gonna do well. All right, that's why our ads literally say "I buy phones." Like it's that simple.
Yeah.
So keep everything incredibly simple. Um, Simple scales, fancy fails. It's something my mentors taught me. And then some personal lessons that I've had along the way, guys. Um, Confidence grows with your experience. The more deals you do, the easier it gets. I remember Aaron talking all the time about how he would get nervous before a deal, and
Hmm.
this happened to me in the beginning too. I didn't take a note of it at the time, but in the beginning, you're going to be nervous on almost every deal, and you're going to be nervous. Like, what if the phone doesn't? What if they show up and it's in a different condition than what the one they said, and like all this stuff, right? Guys, that never goes away. Just so you know, you just get better at dealing with it. And the more deals that you do, the easier that it gets, and the more that feeling won't show up as hard. I still get it sometimes to this day. Like if it's like a really large deal, I'll get that feeling. Like if I'm about to pay somebody over $2,000, like locally in a Starbucks,
Yeah. You should probably be a little
yeah,
nervous.
I should probably be a little. I'm not going to meet them outside at their car, you know. So yeah, confidence grows with your experience.
Yep.
Um, Celebrate your wins, even the small ones. However, make a 24-hour rule. You can celebrate for 24 hours and then you're back.
Back in the
Okay.
game.
I gotta point that out. Some people will celebrate their wins for a week. It'll totally. take the monkey. Like like celebrate your wins, but put it like this is an Andy Frisella rule. Um, he says celebrate your wins for 24 hours and then get back to work.
That's good.
And I like that a lot because a
Yeah.
lot of people celebrate their wins way too, some people like to have their birthday week. What did I do on my birthday? I bought a phone.
Nice.
you know, like I was still doing stuff. Like what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I got kids, I got a wife, I got stuff I got to do. Um, I also enjoy what I do. So, whenever you
Heck yeah.
enjoy what you do, it makes things a lot. It doesn't feel like work anymore. I like this one a lot. This is the next one. Every skill is transferable. Negotiation, communication, problem solving, all of this will serve you in every way of your life. If
Yeah.
you can if you can gather skills, and you can gather skills in a variety of ways. You can gather skills from books, you can gather skills from podcasts, you can gather skills from doing it. Um, but like all of these skills are transferable. One thing I've noticed, a good example of this is one of my students, Kayla. She's a Toronto phone buyer. She started flipping houses in Canada, and she was able to transfer the skill set from flipping phones and electronics to flipping houses. I personally think that's incredible.
It is.
Like it's the same business model. You get
Yeah.
leads, you talk to the leads, you close the deal, you make money. Like it's the
Yep.
same skill set.
Yep.
And she just transferred that skill set to a bigger item, basically. So, which is something I plan on doing in the future myself. Um, Anything to add on that, Matt?
Um,
Just the transfer of skill sets.
yeah, yeah, I think it's easy to kind of underestimate like what skills you might be acquiring and learning as you do this, but entrepreneurship is something that almost requires you to learn what you're doing from almost every angle because there's so many different problems to solve. So if you can get comfortable being a steady problem solver, you're probably going to stack your skills even more like successfully, or I guess you would say like collectively. And it kind of almost for me, it helps fuel my willingness to tackle problems because running into constant problems can almost feel like not progress.
Yeah.
But every time you push through that barrier, you emerge with something that can, for lack of a better term, like, well, be monetized. Like,
That's a
hey, I
key
need to
point.
run ads. Let me go learn ads. Oh, now I can run ads on anything. Hey, like, there's not a lot of phones to flip in my area. Let me flip some consoles. Holy crap, now I can flip consoles. Like, I can diversify my inventory. Just when you can change that subtlety of perspective and look at it um, from that angle, like it really becomes more like a superpower and less like like something a preventative, something's going to prevent you from succeeding.
I really like that a lot because the monetization is the reward of getting through the thing,
It
right?
is. Yeah.
like like I didn't know how to code for Resale Hawk, right? But like once I learned that skill, once we built the thing, I was
Yep.
able to monetize it. I was able to create a monthly recurring revenue from it almost immediately because I've actually done it numerous times before in the same way. But
Yeah.
because I learned that new skill set, like the reward is monetization and honestly us buying more phones from people, right?
Yeah.
So like there I really like that. That's a good way to put it. Um the next one here is freedom is worth the hustle. And it
Yeah.
really is. Flipping gave me the freedom to work on my own terms and build the life that I wanted. Uh, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Um, like knowing that I can go into Facebook Marketplace or launch some ads or things like this and literally pick up deals and make $300 a day, like with minimal work, is amazing
Yeah.
to me. And the fact that like you can go to any city and do that, like it's cool. Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
And the very last one, this is number 30. This business changes lives. I've seen it in my own life and the lives of my students. the potential is real if you're willing to put in the work.
Straight up.
So I'm gonna leave that one as that because it's true.
Yeah.
Like this business is, I will say it's not sexy, right? Me and Matt have talked about this a lot actually on our weekly calls. We're like, dude, I'm so bored with reselling. Like, this is so boring, but I made like 250 in profit, like in an hour. Like, I was actually talking with Eric Jacob, right, Matt?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we were talking last night about this. We were like, dude, this business is so boring once you get good at it. Like, and it's true
Yeah.
though. Like once you get really good at it, it gets boring. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have the same like flair anymore. But you're
Yeah.
still making a ridiculous amount of money. Uh, that way outcompetes your job.
Yeah. But I mean, such is the nature of success. Like, what is success except for something that exists in the form that it is, right? Like, you achieved what you wanted. Congrats, you're a success. And at some point, like, there's a monotony to that process, right? Like, I think about pro athletes and, watching Steph Curry practice, like the amount of times he's probably dribbled a certain way. Like, he has a certain routine when he shoots free throws. It's like one bounce and then shoot. And he's probably done that so many times that it is nauseating, but he's also literally resculpted how the world looks at the game of basketball. And I think it's worth being aware that when you do these things, you people should look at this as realizing like with the consistency of habits and skill sets and patterns and the stuff you're learning and doing, like you're becoming a pro, right? Well, what do pros do? They step out there and they do the thing, and they've done it so many times that they make it look easy. And sometimes that also means that what looks easy from your perspective to them probably feels boring. But guess what? Like, as far as monetization goes, you've carved a niche for yourself. You can't be upset about that. I can work through the boredom, right? Knowing that the freedom is there, and it almost becomes a sweeter reward than money, if to be honest.
Yeah, true. Well, that's 30, guys. Those are 30 lessons I've learned before turning 30. I think this was a fun little podcast.
Yeah, totally.
So, whether you guys are just starting or scaling up, these are the lessons that have taught me over the years. Turning 30 does feel like a big milestone. Honestly, I feel like it's taken a long time to get here, actually. I was actually thinking about this earlier, uh, but I started realizing that it's just because I've been able to condense time down because I don't have a job. So time actually feels longer for me. And I don't know if you feel the same way now, Matt, because you don't have a job anymore. So it's almost like time has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, and I have kids that go off to school, so like on the work day, I'm just here with my dog.
But like, I want to talk about that real quick. Like, whenever you go full time,
Uh-huh.
like it feels fast in the beginning, I think, if I remember correctly. But like these past, I've been like self sufficient for about 7 years at this point. I can make my own money, and that's kind of how things work for me now. And like those, like I will say, like from year 18 to 22, felt like it went by incredibly fast because it was the same monotonous grind, right? Like
Mhm.
wake up, go to work, go home, and like
Yeah.
I guess when your days are just that, time passes by. It feels like time passes by faster. But like once you go into like a full time thing like this, where you're hit with your, and I think it's because like the problems get customized when you're not dealing with the same stuff every day, and therefore it like I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I just feel like it's actually taking me a long time to get to 30. And it could be because I've just learned so much in the past 7 years. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure. But
Yeah. No, I think that there's an acceleration to time. As you grow in responsibilities, you realize that the margin you have available is more precious and you have to be more efficient with your time out of necessity, right? When I was in my 20s, I could burn the candle at both ends and no one was the wiser because nobody suffered the consequence in my wake. If I do foolish things now with my time, I've got a wife, I've got two kids, right? I've got students, I've got a business, and you can feel the repercussions through all of that if I need 24 to 48 hours to recover, even on a small scale. And so the cool thing is for anybody who's hearing this, let's say you're a young man or young woman, in your late teens, early 20s, because we do have people doing this business of that age, right? Right now, you've got like you can run in any direction and make more mistakes and feel less repercussions and consequences than you'll ever have. So if you're wondering when you need to like dip your toes in the water, like now's the time. It really is.
Really
Um,
is. Like, yeah, you don't have. I I am personally starting to feel the late nights. Um, Now, like I started feeling that around 28, 29,
mm,
because between 22 and 27 or so, I was up till 1, 2 a.m. all the time. Like that was my thing. Like I would
yeah,
just, and
killing
it
it.
was okay. I would wake up 7 a.m. the next morning, like, but I'm starting to feel it now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can't, like, so back then I would drink coffee at night to kind of help stay up and work and get stuff done. Cause I would do all my listing at night, um, when I got home. Right.
Yeah.
And as I've, I guess, aged, um, like I can't do that anymore. I feel it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize the difference there. I guess I'm just becoming an old man, where I sneeze and throw my back out. That actually happened about 2 weeks ago. And I was immediately to the gym, bro. Like I hadn't worked out for like 5 days, and I was like, all right, this has to be like a constant thing, so I don't, you know, I got
Oh
to
yeah.
keep up with these kids of mine. So,
Oh yeah.
um, but yeah, guys, this has been the 30 things I've learned before turning 30. I hope you guys learned something from the experiences that I've had and that Matt has had. Um, and just a reminder that you guys can check out our resources in the description below here on YouTube.
Mhm.
And if this podcast is anywhere else, it's probably in the description below this too. Once again, you can check out my ebook for free on the audio, uh, episode 11 of the Smart Flip. You can check it out there. I think it's 2 hours long, something like that. But if you want the PDF, you can buy that for $4.95. And with that being said, guys, this has been another episode of the Smart Flip.